Welcome to Subramani. I'm in one of my many vacations. I'm in a place called Pench, which is in Madhya Pradesh, and I have very good fond memories of Pench. I've seen many tigers in Pench, and today morning we went and we saw a tiger. Well, that's not the story. The story is somebody in my trip asked me, should my dad borrow money and invest, right? So, kid is very young. He's only 22. Maybe 21, not yet graduated, doing MBBS. Father is a successful professional, maybe about 51 years of age, right? So father himself is much younger to me. So my answer is, if you are a professional and if you are a full-time professional doing something else, it makes no sense for you at all to borrow and invest, simply because borrowing and investing is a professional's job. So if a person is a wealth manager, is a stockbroker or banker, and he understands borrowing, the risk of borrowing, and does it, then it is different. But for a common man who is a lawyer, doctor, engineer, or anything, could be a travel agent for all you care, borrowing and investing makes no sense. Why? Because it's always nice to see, oh, but I'm getting a personal loan at 12% and market gives 18% return, right? No, not true. Market does not always give 18% year on year permanently for the rest of your life. If that were to happen, all the money in the world would go there, and this arbitrage opportunity, which looks so attractive at say 6%, will not be available. The arbitrage opportunities will cease. Obviously, fairly conservative people will not borrow even 1 rupee, and aggressive people may borrow 2 times their net worth or 3 times their net worth. A lot of big wealth has been created with lot of sensible borrowing. Let us take a case in point of Mukesh Ambani or Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. Did they borrow money? Yes, of course they borrowed money. Did they borrow money in their personal life? Did they borrow money to make a trip to Singapore? Did they borrow money to buy a car? Did they borrow money to buy a house? No. They borrowed money for their business, and they knew how to do their business. So Rakesh was always a very leveraged buyer. I remember even as back as 1983, I think 82, 83, Rakesh did a deal where he bought 5,000 shares of Tata Power, and which was a leverage buy. He borrowed money from some brother's friend or somebody like that. I remember him doing that deal. Now Rakesh is a very sensible borrower, and Rakesh has actually told me this. The example he gave me, those days amounts were smaller, was if you have a 3 lakh income and you are able to live in 3 lakhs, and you have a 1 lakh, 1.5 lakh income from investments, then it's okay for you to borrow 10-15 lakhs, pay 1 lakh as interest, and use that other income, which could be dividend, rent, interest, whatever. It can't be interest because you're borrowing. So use that money to pay the interest, right? So you're not bothered. But you have to know one thing: you have to cut your positions very fast if you think that the market is going to go down. Because you pledge your shares, you pledge say shares worth 5 lakhs to borrow 3 lakhs, or you pledge 15 lakhs to borrow 10 lakhs, and if you think the value of that 15 lakhs will fall, then quickly sell off that and repay the loan, and be light. Don't be borrowed. Could it be a false call? Yes, but better safe than sorry completely applies here. Or at least partially reduce your debt, and don't be into too much debt. Now all this theory is right when the amounts involved are small and you are building your portfolio with the leverage. You are understanding leverage, you're taking a responsible leverage. Now same thing applies for say Mukesh Ambani borrowing in Reliance. He knew he was borrowing money to set up Jio. He knew that he would sell equity in Jio and repay the loan. So even whether you borrowed 1 lakh crore or 1.5 lakh crore, it didn't matter, because you knew how you are going to repay. This does not happen for a common man who is investing with borrowed money. What happens is, when you take loan at 12% and the market gives you 18%, you think you're very smart, you made 6%. Maybe you did this with 1 crore, so you have made an extra 6 lakhs, which you could never have made without the leverage. In the second year that you do, you again get 15% return, and you are borrowed at say 10% or 11%. Interest rates have also come down. You're looking still very smart at 4% that your that arbitrage opportunity is giving you. I'm ignoring taxation for the present. But in the third year, you thought the market will go up again because you have used to 18% and 15% return, and you find that the market is wiped out by 50%. Right, so your portfolio, which was worth 3 crores, on which you borrowed 1 crore, has dropped to 1.5 crores, and your banker is pressurizing you, saying improve the margin or repay the loan. Now you will have to do a distress sale. This is the worst thing about borrowing. When you have to repay the money, you have to repay the money. No love and kisses and hugs will make the banker happy. The only thing which will make the banker happy is money. There is a saying, I think in Marwari, which says, "Jo kaam paisa kar sakta hai, wo sirf paisa kar sakta hai." Right? You cannot say, "I love you, I'll give you money later on," and all that. For a banker, it is interest and the safety of his capital. So, which means now you go around the world asking, can I have some money because I have to repay the bank? And nobody wants to give you money to repay somebody else, because then they are assuming that risk. So you may have to pledge your house, you may have to pledge more equity. And what happens in the third year or fourth year, if the market gives you a 4% return or 3% return, which means you're going to pay 12% interest or 11% interest on an investment which has fallen dramatically in value, on which you're getting a very poor dividend yield. Dividend yield in India could be 1.5%, maybe 2%, and you have to pay 4% interest or 5 or say 7-8% interest, which has to again come out of capital or from your other income. So when people like Rakesh borrow, it also means apart from being a smart human being, is a great trader who knows to take his calls about when things can go wrong, or if things can go wrong, what should I do? Which means there should be no ego saying, oh, I have bought Titan, how can Titan go down? I have bought Siemens, how can Siemens go down? Anything can go down. When the market is high, you think the market can't come down, and the market is low, you think the market can't go up. Both are wrong. Right, so both the things will happen. So should you borrow and do anything? Okay, let us take an extreme case. 50 years back, or let's say 70-80 years back, nobody bought a house even in a place like Bombay. It was all pagdi property. People didn't have money to buy a house, so some rich people bought the house and gave it to you on rent, for which you paid a portion as a pagdi. Pagdi means you did not have to pay the full price of the house. You paid maybe 1/3 the price or 1/4 the price of the house, and you paid some ridiculously small piddly rent, which looks very small now because it was fixed long back. Right, so that is what you did. And then when you wanted to vacate, you went to the landlord and you said, oh, okay, I had paid you 3 lakhs, now give back my 3 lakhs or give me 5 lakhs or whatever. So he would pay you a small premium for going out, because he could get a new tenant at a higher price. That is how houses were bought. But then people started borrowing, the cooperative system came, people started borrowing and buying a house. Then HDFC came, and then every one of us bought a house, right? So it was very easy, go to HDFC, take a 1 lakh loan, take a 2 lakh loan and buy a house. Today people may be taking a 5 crore loan and buying a house. But the principles were sown somewhere in the 60s and 70s. VP Nayak was the chief minister of Maharashtra, who encouraged this cooperative housing society, and people started buying houses. Even then people were not borrowing to buy a car. Then came the banking boom. So today I think 70-80% of the cars are bought on hire, right? So which means people borrow money and buy a car, or people hire a car, right? People take it on lease, people take it, or companies buy it and give it to people, saying, okay, here is a Mercedes, we will give it to you, 35,000 rupees is the lease, because the down payment would have been made by the company. Otherwise you can't get a Mercedes for 35,000, but that is a perquisite given to you for working in the company. So if you're senior enough, you could get a Mercedes or any high-end car for 35,000 rupees per month EMI cost, CTC, to you. So borrowing for a house became accepted, borrowing for a car became accepted, and for the next generation, borrowing for spending is quite the norm. Right, so people borrow money to go on a vacation, people borrow money to get married, people borrow money to buy household furnishing, people just borrow money. So people borrow money to invest. So is it right or wrong? Depends on your level of maturity and how well you can handle. I think it was Warren Buffett who said, when you don't have money and you don't know how to trade and things like that, you think borrowing will make you rich. Then you realize that borrowing won't make you rich, and by the time you think that you should borrow and you have money, you know that you should not borrow, right? So first you think you should borrow, and then you borrow, and then you lose money because of your borrowing. You get hurt very badly. So make all those mistakes when you're young. Borrow, do F&O, whatever you want to do, right? But later on, when you realize the wealth creation process has no borrowing in place, then you realize that, oh, I shouldn't be borrowing. So this is my answer, saying if you're 50 years old, if you're a lawyer, if you're a chartered accountant, if you're a doctor, you realize that leverage can hurt you and cut you dramatically. So therefore, borrowing and consuming itself is bad, but borrowing and investing is a disaster. Unless you are a professional doing it, like what a Rakesh did, or you're a businessman like Mukesh and doing it. Because you're good at it, you borrow and grow in that. When you don't know how to do it, borrowing looks very attractive, saying, oh, there's a 6% float to be made or a 6% gap to be made, so I will borrow at 12 and invest at 18. Doesn't work that way. Exactly when you're expecting 18% return, the market goes down, you rip apart your portfolio, and you have to still pay the loan and the interest, and that hurts. Thank you.